Hey Leute, es ist Awesome Billy 3 and welcome to Rudesheim.
There were so
I'm
many
here
firsts
at the 2023
for me
Wintergatan
on this
Meetup.
trip. First time being on an airplane, first time going somewhere by myself, first time going out of the country. Traveling alone. I guess where I can start is I stayed up the night before, so I'd be awake in time. It was like 9-ish. He texted me, he was like, oh yeah, I'm right up the road. Max came and picked me up to drive me to Logan, and then had to drive back to New York to catch his flight over for the meetup as well. And I was waiting for the plane, got on the plane, flew over, was awake, so already I was awake for 24 hours at that point, and now I'm going on 36. Being on the plane ride there was about 6.5 hours to Frankfurt International. Got to the airport, landed, I got off the plane, walked down some stairs onto the tarmac to take a bus to the terminal, got lost and turned around in Frankfurt for about 45 minutes and doubled back on myself trying to find where the exit was for where Doro was going to pick me up from the airport to bring me back to Rudesheim. Also, because Frankfurt is so much bigger than Logan, there's so many exit signs everywhere. So every exit, there were so many exit signs, they're green with, the little stick figure guy running towards a door, that type of exit sign. Don't follow those. No, because they're all emergency exit doors. That's where all of those lead. Because of course they don't lead you to an actual exit. No, they're just emergency exit doors. When you can't go through those because you don't, because they would probably set off an alarm. There were so many of those. I'm like, don't follow those. No, I'm like, I just want to get out of here. Finally, I got to the point. I passed a door that I was supposed to go through because I was following it. It said A2 this way. Asked the person there at another desk, they're like, where is it? And I'm like, oh, you want to go back the way you just came from, and then when you get to the end of this hallway, you want to take a right. And I'm like, I was looking right at that door, and I went through that door, and then they were like, you want to take an elevator down a level, which didn't know where the elevator was, so I ended up going out through the airport into the main lobby area where they have the big board, the ticket board, because it's not digital, it's the old-fashioned tickets that has all the different departing and arrival flights and all that information on it. So when it changes, all the little tickets go and they all flip down. I didn't see that when I was there because in the moment I'm just like, I want to get out of here. Doro, where is Doro? Where's Doro? I just want to leave. So then I went downstairs and then I saw Doro. I'm like, oh my god, Savior, please, I just take me away. I want to go. Can we please leave? And she didn't even notice me at first. And I'm just walking up to her like open arms, ready to like hug, like, please just get me out of here again. And then she was just all like, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy to see you. And I'm like, the exit signs, they're lies. All the exits are lies. We got out of the airport. It was probably about 45-minute drive-ish from the airport to Rudesheim. But we got there. I stepped out of the car. First person. As we were driving past, we drove literally right past the workshop, and she was like, oh, there's Martin. And I'm like, oh my god. And that was the first person I was introduced to was Martin himself, which was absolutely freaking crazy. So it was like overwhelming and just sensory overload. So walked in, literally the Marble Machine X was just sitting right in the middle of the room, and he was just there. He was working. He had recording stuff set up, and he was working on I want to say it was the flywheel for the MM3. He was prototyping at that point. But he opened the door and shook my hand. I'm like, oh my god, this is just overwhelming. Because I was not expecting him to be like the first person I'd be introduced to, and I'm like, which I don't know if he remembered me at that point, because I think I said who I was. No, I'm not sure, because I can't remember because freaking I was so dead tired. Met him, and here's the funny thing. I'm in like three or four of his videos. I'm in the video.
Actually correct. So down here on the ground we have the frame parts. So I spent a lot of time in CAD thinking about how to put these parts together, and I'm very curious to see if I actually did it correctly. Yes. Perfect. Yes. So it's 4 o'clock now. You will see this video in about 2 hours on August 1st. Today's the first day of the Wintergatan 2023 meetup at Siegfried's Mechanical Music Museum here in Rudesheim. So there's like 200 people attending today. There's gonna be people everywhere.
So that was my first day. I'm literally just sitting in the background in a chair like this, just staring, blankly at the Marble Machine X, just looking at it and just pondering over it, just looking it over like with my eyes, just analyzing every little detail, and you just see me in the background as he's recording. So then I wandered about that first day, and then it was around 6:37-ish. I went to the sleeping quarter areas. I was feeling funny. I wanted to try and take a nap, and I couldn't because my stomach was just in knots, and at that point I kind of just had a mental breakdown. I think what it was just reality kicked in, and it stuck its foot in the door, and everything just kind of came to a head and hit me all at once, and just that was my reality check at that point. Like, I'm away from home, I'm alone. It was just so overwhelming, all these different things, plus the lack of sleep. The lack of sleep definitely played a huge role in that mental breakdown, as a cause of that. And I just bawled my eyes out. I just didn't know what to do with myself, and I messaged Margaret, and yeah, she really did help. Which, thank you, by the way, for that, because that really did help me. But I got into my own head. That was the problem. When that happened, it was just like that was it. And from then on, it was definitely the lack of sleep. The lack of sleep was what did it. Was the biggest thing for me. That caused the mental breakdown, I'd say. Day 2 was a million times better. It was so much better. So that would have been Wednesday, August 2nd. I was in the workshop, so again, looking at the machine and asking like if there's anything I can do, which Zayap came by and was like, hey, if you're not busy, like, can you come help me with something? And I was like, sure. So they needed help cleaning up the walkway that
was just
the
a
bridge that connects the buildings. There's a sky bridge. walkway thing. They're like, we need a sweep from the stairs that lead up to that, all that go into the next building, towards the mod living quarters. So I'm like, sure. So I vacuumed the stairs, and then I went overboard and vacuumed the windows of the bridge, and then the ceiling overhead, because there were so many spiders. I hated it. So I did that as my own thing, as an added bonus. So Lucas, I'll be I'll be sending you an invoice of like 25 euros for your spider removal service. So we were waiting for the rain to let up and for the sun to poke out for long enough for the street to dry, because it's a cobblestone street, which, if you notice that, which connect between the studio wood shop, and across the street was the event hall where the machines were going to be set up for display for the meetup event. So we were waiting for the rain to stop so that the street could dry enough so that we could get the forklift in to the studio to move the machines across the street, because they didn't want to risk the wheels on the forklift slipping and sliding on the wet stones and have the one or both of the machines fall over and go smash. So luckily, though, it did clear up enough, and we were able to do that, and it took us 20 minutes to move the MMX from the studio literally just across the street into the event hall.
He's filming his own thing. Wow. With all the noise. Holy shit. Oh god.
There's some funny bits here and there. Because Martin decided that was the perfect time to hit record and start recording a bit for his for one of his videos, with the total chaos and the noise in the background of the fucking forklift moving the marble machine. You can see me, and you can even see me in the background, like over here. Like, because I look over, because I hear him loudly talking. I look over, I see him talking at the camera with his back to us, and I just laugh, and everybody else is just giggling like, oh my god, this man is insane. But he had the right idea, filming the chaos. That's good content. That is...
They're doing the bullet time shots from the maker.
Oh, we got round 2 coming.
Are you doing that one too?
We'll just get Hannes to just come over, just carry it out the door.
So that took 20 minutes, and then it took half the amount of time to move the original marble machine the same distance, because everybody over there just gives two shits about that machine. In my heart, though, I still care for it. It deserves love, and a lot of the people are like, oh, this machine's garbage, and so is the MMX. That one plays better, but it's still garbage. And I'm like, maybe it's because, they worked on it for, over a year, and they know how the machines are, and they're like, yeah, these machines suck, we hate working on them, and they can't anymore. They don't have the patience for them anymore, and they realize just how ridiculous they are. to work on and fix. So yeah, I'm assuming that's why everybody was like, oh yeah, we don't really give two shits about this one. But I still care, so because I didn't work on them and I didn't, lose patience and shit on it. So maybe that's why. But I still care for them, for both of them. We are currently getting the marble machines ready for the meetup. Oh, I'm not in frame. Pardon me. I'm not doing this again. Hopefully this is unlocked. Ooh. Oh, it is. Okay, good. I can be in here alone. I'm gonna turn this around. Prepare yourself. Oh. It's like a dream. So we have the original, the OG, made out of plywood, Legos. And then we have the absolute marvel in itself, the MMX, the Marble Machine X. I just came back from dinner. We just brought both of these in on the forklifts. This one came in first. It took us 20 minutes to get this from here, not from here, from literally just across the road to bring it over here. My phone's dying too. I need to make this quick. I don't know if I record the whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with that. I might just upload it. I don't know. This one wasn't even freaking 10 minutes it took us, because this one is considered less of a high risk priority. But yeah, look. Yeah. Ooh. Look at that. See, there's still problems with this. Huh. See? So that marble just escaped from one of these cyber gates. So there's still some moles or flaws within this machine, and that's why it's not going on a world tour. But if we just that's also another flaw. It didn't go down the marble track all the way, but it also might not be level. We moved it. Not a single marble fell off this machine when it was on the forklift, when transporting it. Absolutely amazing. There you go. Huh. It's an absolute dream come true. During that whole 20-minute move of the Marble Machine X across the street, it did not drop a single marble at all through that entire move on the forklift. It didn't drop a single one, which was incredible. But the 3 days that it was, in the event hall, being cranked and whatnot all throughout the days, yeah, there were marbles everywhere. There were marbles everywhere. They were bouncing everywhere. I'll put in some clips right now to show all the marbles falling on the floor and people trying to catch them and put them back in. They were everywhere, all over the floor. Look at the clean floor. I'll put in that one. Yeah, it wasn't a clean floor at all.
Oh, it's wobbling big time. Yeah. Whoa. It's fine. Push it, baby. Woo. Yes! It's fine. That was it, yeah.
So I didn't want to interrupt him, and I'm like, oh, hey, I want to talk to you. And he's like, oh, well, I'm reviewing right now. I mean, if it can wait till after I'm done and once I start the upload, if it's like a longer thing you need, like literally like you want to show me, I don't want to like make it quick and like, you know, like I don't want to rush this, meaning the interaction, you know, whatever I wanted to talk to him about. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, take your time. And I went. It wasn't even like 20 minutes later, and he came in to the workshop. He's like, so what did you want to show me? And that's when I pulled out the Wilson, and I gave him the Wilson. Oh, that's not gonna give the date. But I'll show that picture. Veery took the picture of while I was showing Martin the drawings, and he honestly he loved the he loved the Wilson. He was like, oh my god, because he had seen the other ones. He's like, oh, did you make the ones in the? And I'm like, no, that was someone else. He's like, I like yours better, which that just made, you know, my heart just flutter. And then I didn't have him sign the stuff that night. It was a couple nights later. Because he ended up walking away. Because obviously, you know, you can only talk so long before you want to like pull away from, you know, any sort of social interaction, especially if you're an introvert and you're socially awkward and whatnot, and aren't used to that sort of thing. Plus, he had other stuff to do. Plus, it was getting late and he wanted to go to bed, which I totally get that. So I showed him the drawings and stuff that because I made printer copies of drawings that I've drawn that I wanted to give to him, like the Ching hat one, which a couple nights later when I got him to sign 2 of the drawings that I wanted him to sign for me to keep. He actually said like, oh, because someone asked like, oh, do you still have the Ching hat? And he's like, no. And we were like, what do you mean? And he's like, my girlfriend's dog got to it and chewed it up. We were all just like, no. Ching is a disc golf app, a scoring app, I believe. Like frisbee golf. So we reminisced about that, and then I looked at him and I told him, I'm like, how did I word this? And I wish I like recorded this whole interaction, because I said this on the spot, just without like planning this. I just said it, and I couldn't have said it any better, and I can't remember how I said it because I said it like perfectly. It was along the lines of, and I put my hand on his shoulder and I looked at him. Now I'm like, a lot of people are, most of the people that follow you, a lot of them are here just for the machines. But there's a small percentage of those people that are here for everything else, not just the machines. They're here for the music you make, your band as a whole, you as a person, with how creative and passionate you are with making music. And those are the true fans. And I said this to him, and as I'm saying this, his face just like melted, like just into just a very endearing smile. And because he was a little bit on edge, like nervous, but I could pick up on the body language that he kind of just in that moment he relaxed just a very little bit there. And he's like, that means so much to me. He hugged me like 3 different times. And I was not expecting that. That honestly, every single one of those just took me by surprise, because he hugged me because he loved the Wilson, he liked the drawings, and then for what I said to him, and each one of those, I was just like, I was not expecting that to happen. Um, and just I'm like, those are the people though. Those are the true fans who appreciate you, who are here to see the journey and aren't here just because of the machines. Um, I don't know if I said anything about, if this machine doesn't happen. I might have said like if this one doesn't happen, and I've been saying this for a while now. If Marvel Machine 3 doesn't happen, who cares? Go on a world tour with your band and have a fucking hell of a time. Go be a rock star. Go be a rock star. Go. Just go do what you want to do. Go have that fun. Go make the music and make those core memories while you still can, Go travel the world, see people, and bring joy to all these other people because of the music you make, because they love the music. You're a musician first, and then you were the engineer. And I didn't say any of that, but you know, that was something that needs to be said. But and then I explained, I'm like, even your music in general was what inspired me to make an impulse buy an accordion off of eBay. Like, and I've been, learning that for, just over a year or so, because, I got it last Valentine's Day, not this past Valentine's Day, but last Valentine's Day. And, it's just that's, you inspired me to do that. I didn't have to do that, but you did. And I'm grateful for that. And now I've recorded like 5 or 6 of my own songs. Like, I've never done that before. I don't have an ounce of music theory in me, One of the attendees brought a 3D printed violin they made. And I got to play it because apparently because I saw it, I'm like, and they're like, oh, I'm like, can I? Because I couldn't bring any instruments with me because the accordion's way too heavy and that would have to be checked baggage, and the violin was just barely too big to be counted as carry-on, and I didn't want to check that as baggage because I didn't want that getting tossed around in the plane. And so the only way I would have been able to bring it was if I bought another ticket for it for a seat, and that would have been just stupidly expensive, and I didn't want to do that, and that would have been more money, and so I'm like, I saw the violin, I'm like, oh, please, can I please play it? And they're like, oh, do you play? I'm like, I've been playing for 15 years, and they're like, oh, then go right ahead. I picked it up and like played Biking is Better right then and there, and they're like just hanging on me, like listening to every note. And the sound on it was absolutely amazing for a 3D printed violin, because they also had really good strings on it as well. Diodario strings, which are like good strings. A set of those strings will probably run you like $50 or $65 for a whole set. They're expensive, but they're worth it for the sound quality. And this thing had such a rich, deep tone to it, and it reverberated and projected that sound so well for something that was made out of plastic. It was incredible. I was absolutely astounded by it, and it was, I don't want it to hear me, but it was probably better sounding than my violin, my antique, which is sitting right there, but it probably sounded better than that. And that's saying something. I kept borrowing it because, I missed playing and whatnot, and so there was a time I was sitting outside, right outside the event hall. It was late at night, just before 11, and I was playing, and there was people hanging out in the alley, that street, just hanging outside. So I was playing out there, and I didn't see him come out of the workshop but apparently must have came out and then walked by, and then he came back and he heard me playing. I was playing the Mistral song because I figured out how to play it on the violin, because I guess I can do that apparently. Uh, and he heard that, and he walked up to me just after I had finished, and he's like, "Oh, you play great." And I was just like, I wasn't really like that, but in my brain at that exact moment was like, it was just like words. I'm like, oh my god, thank you. Like, he's like, wow, you sound really really great. And I think I talked to him later on. He was literally trying to go to bed, and I'm like, hang on, because I wanted to tell him this, because this was like, half an hour later. He's like, I need to go to bed, but I'm like, well, let me just say this one thing. The song you heard earlier. He's like, yeah. I'm like, you said you liked that, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I originally wrote that on accordion, and what might interest you is I used. I explained to him I've came into ownership of a bike. It's called Mistral, kind of like yours, Tornado. Um, and I'm like, it just so happened to be called the Mistral, like the wind in French. He's like, oh, that's weird. Um, and I'm like, I used the bike in the song as percussion. I cranking the pedals. And he's like, that's interesting. And I'm like, and I didn't have him listen to it, but I'm like, he ended up going. But it was the night of when I had him sign the other drawings. I showed him some of the other drawings that I had in the portfolio, and one of them is Jan Tiersen, and he immediately recognized me, like, oh, Jan Tiersen. And I'm like, and I explained to him the story behind me drawing that. I'm like, I needed cover art for a song I did a cover of by him to post it to my Bandcamp page, because I didn't want to just steal just whatever image off of Google, you know. And so I'm like, I spent like 4 or 5 hours drawing a picture of him just for cover art so I could upload the song. And I'm like, if you want to pull up my page, if you're interested. And he's like, sure. And he pulled it up on his phone. I don't know if he ever listened to anything on it, but I'm like, there you go. If you want to check out some of the music I've written, go right ahead. And so he might have listened to it. He might not have. I have no clue. No clue at all whether he did or not. But technically it's on his phone still, unless he closed the page at some point, which, fingers crossed, I'm hoping he didn't, but I'm hoping at some point maybe he'll come across it and be like, oh, I slightly recall this, and maybe take a listen. Because honestly, that would be really cool if he did. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in. Also, I performed. I'll probably put that in here as well. Because the guy who brought the 3D printed violin had a presentation that he during the meetup. That was one of the things that was scheduled, because they had different presentations that people did. So he did a presentation on the process of him making the 3D printed violin, and I think I had just gotten up. I had been awake maybe like an hour, and someone came to find me and was like, hey, we need you to come to the stage. And I'm like, okay. And it was him, because he wanted me to play just like as a demonstration of the instrument itself to the people attending the presentation, which it was also live streamed. Like, a lot of the event during that weekend was live streamed to I want to say it was the Wintergatan 2 YouTube channel, possibly. If not, it was the Music Cabinet channel, which it might have been that, which I'll put links to that in the description of this video as well, so you can check them out. And so I took a clip of a screen recording of my performance of that, which I'll put in here now. I won't play the whole thing unless you want to see the whole thing. I don't know. I played Biking is better because it's like it's Wintergatan related, and I figured that'd be something than just some random song. I figured stick with the theme of the meetup. It's Wintergatan related, and I can play it really well. So, and it went perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's one of my favorites. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna include in the video because of like privacy reasons and with how certain people might feel about certain things being shown. So there's some things that I'm not gonna show, but I might go ahead and just retell them. We went to a bar. This was my first time actually going out and drinking. Again, a lot of firsts for this trip for me. There were a lot of firsts, which included going to a bar and drinking alcohol. And I drank responsibly. I only had two shots. I had 2 shots of apricot, apfelkorn. It's an apple schnapps basically. Apfelkorn. It's basically like an apple schnapps. I had two of those, and then I had a virgin pina colada because that was what I ordered originally, and then they ordered a round of shots, and I didn't want to feel left out and not have a drink, and I didn't want to drink beer because I did not want to drink that. So yeah, that was that, and I felt kind of out of place because the drink was just like, oh, it's just this standoutish drink that just showed up to the table, as opposed to everybody else had beer. I'm like, I didn't want beer, didn't want it. I didn't. Bleh. I couldn't really care for beer. Beer, bleh. I don't. Beer's bleh. So we that was the first going there. So we all went there, and that was the thing, cause, it was the end of cause there's a noise cutoff time for like making noise in Germany, which is, or at least in Rudesheim, is 11 p.m. Like dance, like loud music and shit has to stop by 11. So that was like the last song in the dance area, which was the presentation area. It was basically later on in the evening they cleared out all the chairs and basically people could dance, and there was like a DJ set that, you know, some of the people like Andres and whatnot were set up to DJ and stuff. So and I wish I got this on camera because it was the last song was "Living on a Prayer," and it was "Living on a Prayer." And they stopped it, and I wish I kept recording afterwards because someone had drawn on a piece of like styrofoam, like a serving tray, like it was a rectangle like this, like a very crude map, and handed it to Martin, and almost like in a comedy movie or whatnot, like just to have a scene out of like a sitcom, he just yells out, "I got a map to 2 more bars!" And the whole room just erupted in cheer and a roar, like, yeah! I stopped recording, like, just, like, seconds before it happened. Because they're like, well, we gotta shut down for now. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here type of thing. And then it was like 2 seconds later that happened, and I'm like, I wish I got that. That was so fucking funny. So then I decided to step outside my comfort zone. I'm like, you know what? I'll go to this. Why not? Why would I like miss out on an opportunity like this? And it was honestly like the best time ever. The place we went to was called Quest Commode, I believe, and as soon as we walked in, there were accordions everywhere. They were all over the ceiling and the walls. They were literally hanging everywhere. So as the first like 5 pictures I took with my phone, because there was one above the door to the doorway to the bar. So I just pulled out my phone. The first like 5 pictures were all blurry because I'm trying to keep walking to keep the line moving behind us as we're making our way through the bar. But there was accordions everywhere. There was also, in the room where we were all seated, there was also a bike hanging from the ceiling with all the accordions. I'll post pictures here, but it was insane. There was live music, and it was amazing. And then afterwards, because then the bar closed, and we all went to leave. We went back. There's a big gate that to the entrance to the street that goes up towards the event halls, apparently, and it was down, but there was like this much space or so between the bottom of it and then the ground, and I was ahead of the pack, so I acted on impulsively and just decided to try to crawl under the gate, and I stopped halfway through because I didn't want to get stuck, because I wasn't sure of myself and I didn't want to get stuck and feel embarrassed, so I backed out and I went around through the door that was beside it, because there was like a little like way to get in through the door without moving the gate. And I walk up the road, and then I turn around and I see Martin and like four other people halfway under the gate crawling under, and they successfully crawled under. And I'm just laughing. I'm like, oh my god, all the drunks. And I said, I don't want to show this clip because, again, privacy reasons. But I'm telling it. But I said I'm recording this, and someone else recorded it from that side, from the other side of the fence. And I said to myself, I'm like, let the record state that I stopped halfway through, because I'm not drunk. So all of them they were all happy with themselves. They're like, "Yay, we crawled under the gate." It was so funny to see that, though. It was so fucking funny. Oh my god, it was freaking hilarious. The live music was great. I recorded some of the music. I did like a panorama shot of like the people around me in the bar as we were all like banging the table to the beat of the music. It was great. But I'm gonna get back on track. For the most part of the event, for the days that I was with the events, I was standing by the machines, helping out with, picking up marbles and helping with anything that went wrong with the machine. Meaning the MMX, the original marble machine is out of commission, so to speak, and cannot be played or turned because it will break.
Just run it silent.
Every now and then, we did do speed tests to try and get up to speed, and I got it close, and then right at the end of the clip, I was able to get it up to speed, and then I passed it over to Ellie, and Ellie was able to get it up to speed, and that clip, it's very loud because I had my phone like right next to the freaking vibraphone, so the reverberance from the vibraphone just killed the recording. For the other audio, but I was like, yes, because she was able to get it up to the actual proper playing speed of the proper BPM that the original Marble Machine song played at, which we programmed the Marble Machine X to play that song. So it played the snare drum part and the vibraphone part. That's what we programmed onto the machine to play, and it was fantastic. And it was after the first night. It was Friday night. We did like a quick briefing with everybody, with all the crew members, in the other hall, just as like a checkup to review of how everybody thought the first day went, and it went pretty perfectly. It went perfectly smooth. And Martin piped up. He's like, "Oh, we could hear the Marble Machine X from across the street, because while he was working in the studio, start playing the Marble Machine song." And he's like, "We heard it was playing at a snail's pace all day. Da na 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 na." And everybody just cracked up laughing because he's like, it was all day. Just slow down, na 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 na. Like he was just slowly losing his mind listening to the thing on repeat, because all the attendees just that were cranking it. It was just at a snail's pace. It was funny. It's like, God, he's just sick of it. And to be honest, by the end of it, by the end of the like the 3-day event, I think everybody was kind of sick of it at that point. But the machine actually broke down like 4 or 5 different times. Different parts broke, and the last time it broke that was it. They decided we're not fixing this again, because they did fix it. It took 4 or 5 hours almost each time. Different parts that broke. The same part broke 3 times, I think. Three times I think it broke, and then a different part broke a different time, and I actually heard it. I just sat down to eat my dinner, which was the soup, and I heard a cascade of marbles hitting the vibraphone and the drums. It was like ding, 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 ding. I'm like, that's not good. And then it happened 2 more times, and then I'm like, okay, I'm getting up now. I backed up and I got out of my chair and left my soup. I'm like, and I walked over. I'm like, what's happening? What's wrong? Do you need my help? I'm like, because obviously this didn't sound right. And they're like, oh yeah, one of the pipes in one of the marble droppers fell out, and all the marbles fell. So they had to take out the other pipes that were in that area, which meant all the marbles falling. So yay. So that was that, and then that took a long time to fix. There was that, and then after that, we took group photos and stuff. There was a couple jam sessions. Um, I played the violin for Martin. There was a short segment. I demonstrated the violin for one of his videos. He came in, and I was just standing there. He's like, "Oh, the 3D print. Do you want to showcase the violin for us, Billy?" I'm like, "Sure, sure. Why not? Why not?" So I played Jupiter, by Holst, and there was just a little snippet in there, like 10 seconds.
Here's a 3D printed violin that actually sounds great.
I'm like, but there's a lot of clips that I'll show of me cranking the machine and stuff, and just being around the machine. I was helping answer questions that attendees had about the machine, which honestly surprised me that I had the answers to every question that people asked me. I'm like, I haven't even. They're like, oh, so how long have you been working on the machine? And I'm like, I have done no work on this machine at all. This is my first time seeing it in person. I got here Tuesday. I got here Tuesday. I'm not part of the team. I'm just a very active Discord member. I'm just a very involved community member that just so happened to have had the luck to have gotten to be here. Yeah, I honestly, it was amazing. It was amazing being there. It's still a blur. It's still a blur because, it went by slowly at first, but then because I was sad. But then, once I was happy, it's like then freaking time was flying. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, I'm leaving tomorrow. And I felt like the 10th Doctor Who, which was played by David Tennant. I felt like him. I don't want to go. Have my eyes well up and be like, I don't want to go. I'll throw in a clip of that right now. I don't want to go. I didn't want to go. It flew by so quickly. I was already at the airport or I had already gotten off the plane and some other people were like, "Oh, I didn't get to see you either." And I'm like, "No, you're gonna make me cry," which I was crying in the airport anyway. Um, at my own goodbye message that I was typing up, I wanted to say it in person, but I never got the chance, and I should have. I probably should have said it freaking the night that we were all eating pizza, that Monday night. I probably should have did it then, and I didn't because I'm a big dumb goofball, and I was just too caught up in the moment and tired and shit because I went on a walk through the vineyard that's up behind the event hall museum, and we walked, which I'll show bits and pieces of that because Ellie graciously recorded that with their camera. Read aloud to things that you can touch certain things on the book. Which they put together a little thing of, my adventure, they called it, Billy's Adventure, which I'll show bits and pieces of that. I won't show a lot of it because like 75% of it is footage of the museum itself because they were like, we need to get you over to the museum before you leave. You can't not see the museum with all the machines, and I'm so glad that I was able to get in there. Because I was looking forward to it, seeing them all. But all the self-playing instruments were so goddamn incredible. I won't show any of that in this video. I'm gonna have its own separate video. It's just gonna be like just a compilation of all the different machines being played and whatnot, and then I might throw in some of Ellie's footage as well because it was really outstanding. The self-playing violin. They have like 5 or 6 of these machines, but this one is like the one. It's a self-playing violin machine, so it has 2 cabinets here that have 6 facing outwards, but there's one in the back on either side, so there's 8 violins, and then it has a rotating ring that has horse hairs from the bow woven in a certain way, so that makes a disc that's thick enough so that it actually produces sound. And then there's also a piano part here, then the keys actually play themselves. It was so... My face was just like an awestruck little child. That's the only way I can describe it, of my facial expression, just seeing that. And in that moment, listening to this machine play, and I don't want to make this, and I don't want to say this in a mean, or have this sound like it's mean way, but this whole video has just been about this, and I don't want to make it just about my grandfather, but in that moment, standing there, I felt something like if he was here, he would just love to have seen this. And at that moment, I felt as if he was standing there with me, watching that machine go. And I welled up just a little bit thinking about it. Like, I felt a presence there as if he was standing there next to me. And he would have loved to see that. I want to go back. If I could live there, I would live there. It's flat. There's biking. Biking is better, has meaning over there, because biking is actually better and enjoyable, as opposed to here it sucks because you're going uphill and you're dead tired and you're out of breath and you just want to freaking shove your bike into the road and let it go smash by a car. I wouldn't do that, obviously, but that's just how I feel about biking over here. So when I hear the title of the song "Biking is Better," I'm like, is it really better? No. The title "Biking is Better" is subjective depending on the location of where you currently are biking. Okay? It's dependent on location whether biking is actually better. Okay? So around here, biking is not better. It may be better for the environment, but around here, it is not better. It isn't. I had a blast. That's all that I want to get across at this point. I had a blast. I want to go back. I wish I could have stayed longer. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Ugh. The food was great. I've got my sleep schedule on track. Hopefully still, fingers crossed, knock on wood. I woke up at 8 o'clock today. 8 this morning. And I've done so 3 days in a row. Every day I've woken up at 8 a.m. So this whole trip has fixed my sleep schedule, and I really, really hope I can keep it that way because I like being able to sleep. And do you know how much joy and dopamine, serotonin, whatever you want to call it, it has given my brain to see when I open my shade and to see the sun low in the sky with the shadows still kind of long after the sun has risen. Seeing the sunrise low in the sky, the early morning sun, has been so much for me mentally. Has been so invigorating and make me happy and smile. Just that little bit has just made me so happy. So that's why I want to keep this on track, and I don't want to screw this up. I'll leave you with this. This is something I bought from the gift shop of the Music Cabinet Museum while I was there. It's this little tiny violin. It came with its own little tiny violin case and a bow as well, and a little stand. There were two of these. There was this one, and then there was one that looked slightly different and that stood on like a pedestal. I got this one because I liked the whole case idea. But it's a music box, and it plays the tune of the Magic Flute by Mozart. So I will leave you with this. That'll be it from me. Thank you all very much for everything. And bye. 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 I've overstayed my welcome. Goodbye. Goodbye. I can't say anything else. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I could say thank you for eternity, and it won't even matter. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.